All right, so today we're doing something a little bit different. I am going to be powder coating some parts of my motorcycle that I've been wanting to powder coat for a while. This is not important, and I just love to make some, very small changes to the bike, and specifically in those areas where the bike is like super black or black, and all of a sudden you have these like pieces of metal, like raw metal, that I feel like it will look so much better if I had different, I guess just one color in some areas. So that will be cool for me. So I already did the rear sets a while ago, about a couple years ago, and they're still, they look great still. So now I'm just gonna I was gonna swap my rear my rear sprocket for a different one, and I thought, hey, might as well just like take care of those like blocks, the adjustment blocks, as well as the nut, the rear axle nut. So I'm just gonna go ahead and powder coat those things. So I'm just gonna take it with you so you can see the process and the stuff you need if you want to do this at home. All right, so like I said, on this table I have everything you're gonna need in order to powder coat your metal parts. So very similar to painting, the most important thing about powder coating is just the prep. So in here I have a couple of things that I'm going to be using. This is a mixture of like water, and so I guess some diluted degreaser, as well as some just soap, and then some alcohol to clean the parts after. I have a bucket where I'm just going to be putting a little bit of water just so I can clean the parts. I have some wire that I'm going to show in a second. You're also going to need a compressor. It doesn't have to be a compressor like this one, but at the time where I bought my powder coating kit, I didn't have a compressor, so I bought this like airbrush compressor, which is great for this type of work because it doesn't require a lot of pressure. And then you need a mask. You're gonna need the powder coating, which in this case I bought this Eastwood. This is powder mirror black, which is super bright, and then has a lot of reflection in it. And then this is the kit. This is actually the cheapest kit Eastwood had, and I bought this about maybe 4 years ago. It's a great kit. It comes with the electrical power unit, as well as a button where you're gonna be using when you want the powder to stick into the part. And then I'll show you later, but this is where the actual bottle goes into when you're ready to powder. And then you need an oven that's capable of this one looks awful because this is the one I've been using. Please do never, if you are powder coating on an oven like this, never use it again for food for the family or whatever. So just make sure that whatever you end up buying, it's actually going to be a dedicated powder coating only. Never do it at home, please. And then inside of here, let me just move this out of the way. Inside of here, another thing that I like to do is I prep this by having, as you can see, like this is actually still working, but it's actually broken, like the actual glass. But long story short, there's a little bit of metal with some holes in here. So this is perfect. Just I can go, and every time I'm just gonna powder coat, I practice how I'm going to be putting the parts inside, making sure that I have the correct spacing just so the parts are not touching each other. This is very important because this is not just painting. These parts are going to be super hot, and I'll explain why. And then so for this round, I'm just gonna do 3 parts, and I already practiced. I cut some of this wire, and I bent the wire, and I laced the wire through these holes, and then I just tested it to make sure that they were not going to be bouncing against each other, and they were going to stay in a place where they're not going to touch each other and mess up with the paint or the powder. So that's very important, because if you don't practice, what's going to happen is when the parts are hot, you're not going to be able to move them around, or maybe you're just gonna mess it up, and then you have to start over again by stripping the powder and then starting over, and it's a huge pain. So important thing is I'm using this toaster oven which the important thing is it's capable for 400 to over 450 Fahrenheit degrees. So depending on the colors that you're going to be powder coating, you have to take a look at it, and I'm gonna see in here if you can see it. This one says 450, and then depending on the color, it's gonna be the amount of time you're gonna have to leave it on the oven, and then in some cases the amount of time is gonna be spending the parts in the oven or actually waiting after that. So yeah, so that's all you need. So now I'm just gonna get the parts. Actually, I'm just gonna show it super quick. So these are the parts. So like I said before, I already practiced, so I know this one goes here, this one goes here, and then finally the nut goes in here. And I'm still debating if I'm going to do the washer. I might not do it. I'm just gonna clean it pretty good and maybe just keep it like that, but I'm not sure. So one thing that I do not have today that normally you like to do is whenever you get parts, supplies for powder coating, they normally have the type of either tape, it looks like masking tape, or in some cases like silicone, where you can apply silicone like blocks, not apply, but actually insert a silicone inside of a nut like this, just so you can paint without wearing the powder coating is just gonna get into the threads. And the reason is similar to paint, but actually in this case it's different. The powder coating is very thick, so you have to make sure that you don't get a lot in the threads, because if not, then you're gonna have to clean them up, because it's not gonna work the same way it used to work before. So I don't have it, but I'm just gonna try to avoid getting a lot of powder on the inside, and just trying to be careful. So you can do it like that. So like I mentioned before, first things and most important, just to get the parts clean. So I'm just gonna spray them right now with some solution in here. I'm just gonna let them soak in that solution for a second. And then I'm just gonna agitate the dirt with with a brush, just so I can get them super clean. And it's important that, very similar to when you are painting, any grease will interfere or damage the work. So I'm just putting some soap, and I'm just gonna now start cleaning them up. So I'm just gonna make sure that I can get all of this, and then I'm gonna show you some of the tricks that I use to make sure that the final product is gonna be great. All right, so after a good scrubbing, and I'm just gonna leave that one metal color. So I'm just gonna paint only powder coat these three, which are the blocks and the axle nut. So after good scrubbing, most of the grease and everything just came out. So this is great. There's some like mark, because this is where the ball makes contact with and stuff, but anyway, it's good. So at this point they're clean. So the best thing to do now is a trick that I learned some time ago, and the trick is to actually just heat the parts even before powder coating them. So as you can see, I have a thermometer inside. I just barely started heating up the actual oven. So now I'm just gonna put this in here. It's hot already, and I'm just gonna put this guy here. And I just realized that placement for the thermometer, because I think it's just gonna hit, but let me just move it, see if I can get it to work. All right, cool. So why are we doing this? We're doing this because heat will bring the last portion of any impurity or grease or anything that is on the part. So what I'm going to do is just to let them get hot for maybe, I don't know, maybe about 10-15 minutes. I have the oven at 450 now. I had it at 400. I have 450, so I'm just gonna give it maybe, I don't know, I'll give it a full like 15 minutes just so I can let them, you know, heat up for a while, bring any impurity or grease or anything that potentially still, you know, any contaminants that are still in the metal, and I'll bring them out. I'll clean them with some, you know, isopropyl alcohol, and then you know, we'll just clean them up a little bit, and then we'll start the process of, you know, powder coating them. So all right, cool. So I'm just gonna leave them. I can see the thermometer started moving, so it's about 150. So I'm just gonna close this in here, and we'll be back in a couple minutes. All right, so parts are now hot. So I'm just gonna grab them with this. Of course, I'm grabbing them like that because I don't need to be super careful because they're not coated still. All right, so now what I'm going to do is to use a little, I'm actually gonna keep, now that I think about it, I'm just gonna keep this on just so it stays hot and ready for me to coat. So now, super easy, I'm just going to clean the part with a little bit of like alcohol. And I know I have not gone into a lot of like details about powder coating, but I guess some of the components is, this is a negative charge. So what you want to do is, like, this is the metal portion, and I'm going to put this in here, and then when you, I'm just gonna get the cable. So whenever you are painting, so when you want the spray to stick to the part, you're going to be pressing this button, which is going to control or complete the circuit, meaning positive charge and negative charge, and that's going to electrify this part, and that's what's going to make this the powder actually stick to the part. All right, so I have the gun ready, so you can see I already have it like ready with the black. Just to give you an idea of how this is gonna happen, take a look at this. So I'm actually pressing the button, look, see? So that's just to show you what happens when you press the trigger. So I already practiced how am I going to transport the parts. What I'm going to be doing is just using these pliers. I'm just gonna do kind of like the opposite. I'm just gonna open it like this, and this is how I'm going to transfer them to the oven. That's very important, just so you don't you know, mess up the part or like throw it in the floor or whatever. And I am now about ready to get started. So I'm gonna just go ahead. I think I'm ready. Let me just put the camera down so you can see it, and let's get started.
All right, so I want to apologize in advance because I was not expecting the video to turn so dark after, you know, adding all the powder, and specifically just covering the entire sheet, so it turned into dark and you can barely see, you know, what's underneath it. But you'll see next when I start removing all the parts, and it will make sense.
Parts are in, so I'm just gonna let them cook for I want to say 18 minutes. And the reason why I'm gonna do 18 is because when they're hot, I'm just gonna bring them back again, and I'm just gonna do a little bit of clear. So this one is gonna come out pretty darn like clear, but the clear is more acting as a way to, you know, protect the parts a little bit better. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm just gonna try to like give it a little bit of like more protection with, you know, some clear. All right, so just let them be, and I'll be back in 15. The parts after being, inside of the oven for about 10 minutes. So they're looking good, but now they're gonna look even better. So now I'm just gonna go ahead and spray a little bit of clear, which is gonna be white. So don't be scared. All right, so now you can see the parts are inside. They're still looking a little bit white. So now they're going inside. They're gonna burn for 20 minutes. And now I'm just gonna drop the temperature from 450 to 375. So we are a little bit more than halfway through, and I just wanna give you an idea of how this is gonna look. Man, it looks amazing, I love it. Let's see if I can just see the new grass pad, sorry. Can you see that? In the reflection looks great. That's awesome. Yeah, it looks very good. All right, cool. So I'll be back in about 6 more minutes.
All right, so it's today day number 2. So I finished the parts last night, so I just want to show you guys how it came out. So let me just show you here pretty quick. This is how parts came out. They look amazing. If you were to ask me, I think they look awesome. I think I nicked one of them on the inside, but it doesn't matter because anyway, this is where the axle is gonna go through, so they're still gonna get scratched at some point and whatever, but still pretty resistant. So yeah, they have a light, super nice shine to it and sheen, and this is with the additional clear that I put on top of the clear that came out of the powder. Cool. So hopefully you know now it's fairly straightforward and easy to do. Clean the part, of course buy the equipment, which in my case Eastwood had it for about $130 or maybe $150. This is, I don't know, maybe I want to say maybe like 4 or 5 years ago. I still have the powder that I used last night is actually the same powder I bought back in 2015. As long as you keep it in a place where there's not a whole lot of like moist and moisture, you can actually use it for a long time. So yeah, just go ahead and do it. I don't have any issues paying people for services, but some people actually like a lot of money, and in my case I like to make a lot of changes to my bike. So if I depend on a shop to make changes to my bike and like for small parts like this, then it's gonna take me a long time because I have to get in my car, go to the shop, come back, disassemble, install, assembly, the whole stuff. It's a long cycle. So in my case, I like to do and learn my stuff. There's a few things maybe I don't have an oven big enough because I actually got rid of it to put my wheels on. But so that's maybe something that I'll take at some point just to get them powder coated. But to be honest with you, I might as well just like buy an oven that I'm just gonna use just for that purpose. So long story short, there's something about learning the skills and put them to use in your stuff and make your stuff pop. And then when people ask, you tell them, hey, I actually did it. So I think there's a lot of like that comes with the doing. So just go ahead and try, give it a try. I mean, it was about 170, 140. I don't remember. It was about that much when I bought the kit. That was like 4 years ago or maybe 5 years ago. And I powder coated so many parts on my bikes that I already make my money back. I don't know how many times. So a powder cost me like 10, 12 bucks. And some of them are like 5 years old and they're still working great. So that just to tell you, it doesn't take a lot of powder just to do small parts. So that's not going to be the biggest of your expense. It's actually more the taking the time to really like understand and know the skill, learn that skill so you can put it into practice and maybe you can make your own business. So who knows? So just I hope that you enjoyed the video. Let me know if you have any questions about the process and I'll be more than happy to answer those questions. And thank you for watching this video. Appreciate it.